Welcome back. This is an update on how the mill table went, making the new mill base. So this is the old one. It has a 100mm wide by 16 flat bar with some holes drilled through it to take 2 bolts. I did have 1 bolt and a 5mm. I replaced it with 2 of the bolts and 2 5mm, but it wasn't as rigid as the 10mm. So changing that made a great difference in the sturdiness. It does flex 0.03 of a millimeter when leaning on it in the Z way, nothing really this way. It only has 29 or 25 or so millimeters of travel in and out, sort of, so it's a bit restricting. That's why I was making that one. That turned out not too bad actually, considering. This is my sharpening of the fly cutter and other issues. Might be a tramming issue. Overall, so you can see you probably could get away with not using a new base, but this gives me more trouble in the Z. That's the reason I was making it. And it should be a lot more rigid. The gibs in the table itself need to be worked on. I had to lock it right down, make it really tight. Look how tight this is, just to take the Y. Is like really slow. Any looser in it will start vibrating and jumping. So it's ready to become a lathe again. So I can do the thread in that piece. Let's make the handle section. Going to use the tailstock of the lathe's handle and just swap it in and out, because when it's a milling machine, it definitely doesn't need a tailstock because there's going to be no room back here. The new base will come out to here with the handle here. Okay, I'll get back. Getting ready to test the new knee setup. Going to cut the keyway for the winding mechanism. I'm just using a bit of threaded bar for now. All I need is that there, and just turn it and that will push forward. So I got it set up. Keyway is being cut. It was its very first milling job with the new base. It's a 4mm high-speed steel cutter, end mill. So it's not viewing in. That's 304 stainless threaded rod. And I'll fit the handle. Okay, everything's nice and snug. As you can see, I can slide that in and out. It's a shame that didn't quite get to 10mm. You can sort of still see parts of the thread. Okay, it was nice and rigid. I didn't have any flex. It seemed really nice to use. So I'm going to install the feed screw now, and that part will be done. Okay, I got the feed screw mechanism put back together after cutting the keyway. I'm going to make a giant T-nut to sit under the ways and locate it through this hole here, just to hold the back end down a bit, just in case it vibrates. That will be the first test of the mill base. because we got all this distance sitting here without any clamping mechanism on it. So I'm just going to use a bit of mild steel and machine that up, and then it should be finished. Machining the keyway slot, it seemed to be extremely rigid. There's no flex anymore. It used to have a 0.03 flex just by leaning on it slightly with the old setup. That was the old setup there. So this is like 2.5 times the larger. And even that piece is much larger. I've got a foil packer here. It's still slightly out, but not by much. Shouldn't be noticeable for this little piece, but once I set it up to do a job, I'll true it up much better. Alright, so I'll get to work on that. I should say, it actually winds a lot smoother. The clunking's coming from this thing here. So it winds a lot better than these ones here. Look at the play in this beast. The table itself, I'm gonna have to replace the gib strips. They're just bits of mild steel flat bar they used in there. I have some brass strips for the gibs for this, which might be better. This is a lot flatter. Those things in there, I pulled them out and they're like wavy. I might get rid of these, put hex head bolt in for the locking mechanism. This one jams out. It's pretty gappy in there. And this one needs a lot of work. See the backlash? That's the tension, that's how much turning. So that's tight, ready to lift. It's a whole turn out before it even moves. Making some slight modifications. I've moved the angle plate from back here, where this was sitting on top of this, so I can get my extra 20mm height back, because I couldn't take as much material as I thought I was going to out of the slot and that part what sits along the ways. It needed to come up to about 10mm there, but in its current form it wasn't rigid enough to do that. So got that checked out. I'm changing the gibs. Discovered before I say about I'm putting in the brass gibs. The original ones are just maybe cold rolled, probably not by the colour and the markings on it, but they're not very flat at all, which was giving me some hassles in winding the levers. And I was wondering why this was jumping up and down in the later stages. The bolts came loose and they're tucked away under here. The top part of the table goes in through here. So I'm going to have to, oh, they got spring washers as well. Hopefully the threads are still alright. Yeah, I think they are. Might put some Loctite on it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got the Loctite, which you can undo, so you don't have to heat it up. Yeah, so I've just got to cut another gib strip. Hopefully it runs a bit smoother, because I had to have these locked right down. I'm not happy with these wing nuts. They feel tight in the holes. I might have to re-tap them a bit. You need a pair of pliers sometimes. They've loosened up a bit since I've been playing around with it. But yeah, see how that goes. Well, modification's done for the extra height. Means the whole unit here sits back a bit, but that's all good. You can come back to here because I've made the little bolt that fits in under there. I can bolt in through the bottom plates hole here, which I use to attach to the milling table. I needed 2 pieces of aluminium, pretty thin stuff, to get it trued up. But, so we're like 2.2 there, then it goes to 0 there, and 0.1 there. It's 0.1 on that side as well, on that rail. So this one's slightly under, however they managed to machine this with that one under sized. It's got me, and then it goes to 0.2 down at the bottom rail. So that one's low, so it's going to be hard. And I noticed moving this in and out also has an effect. So they've stuffed up the gibs. I haven't really ground them out properly. I did a better job on this thing on the little setup, but it's good enough for now. The center of the table's almost at the center of the chuck. Okay, the next job is to mount the vernier. So I have a digital readout of how much I'm moving in, but it's going to probably hang out there like that. Don't know if I want it like that, but it should be okay, enough hand room. I'll think about the positioning. Attach it there maybe, but then I got to move this back here sometimes if I need to. Couldn't get that one in, it landed right on the bolting hole for where I bolted it down to machine it on the table. So maybe in here, I want it sort of easy to read. These were cheaper than a proper one, but a proper digital readout would be good, but they're expensive. Okay, now I can measure with ease. As a rate, I think it's 150 millimeters of travel. Just bolted it onto that part of the handle mechanism and just under there. Right, let's see how small a value we can get. Well, 0.02. No, it's not stable, is it? Well, I see that jump. It was a bit tight in there. Right there again. Have to work on this bit. Move it around some. Might be catching. When it makes that noise, I can feel it. Could be a bit tight on the gibs. testing out the face mill. I can't get it in one pass, it has to be done in two. The nail doesn't get caught on it. That's the piece of metal which was making this come out further. I need to shave it off. It was sticking up here about 2 mil proud, so I thought I'd test the setup with this as the first milling job. This seems to be cutting much better with a more rigid setup. Still, I think it's a bit overkill for the lathe. It was increasing its speed because it's when it sort of struggles with its load, mini lathe starts increasing its speed to overcome the force. It's looks okay, looks better than it did. Be good to get it in one pass. You won't get that little line. That was a pretty heavy cut, I think. Yeah, see, it was all 0, so it's like 0.1 of a millimeter. That's too deep. It was running a lot better off camera, doing 0.05, I mean. So I'll finish cleaning that up. Somewhat machined up okay. I didn't have to worry about going all the way here because it's hanging out above this. Tramming is still a little bit out, but that will do. Yeah, gonna just sit in there where it was before. Needed another little washer for in here because on the compression bearing, this ran out of thread and it was had this much slop in it. It was like hanging out there. So that should fix it. Lucky I had one. It just fitted. So I'll set that up and I'll connect, put that back in. And a little bit closer to finished. I added another piece of aluminium foil to both sides to fix the tramming issue. And then this is the results here. So you got to cut this in 2 parts, 2 passes, because it's 50, that's 50, but it doesn't quite cut the edges. So I've taken it up that way first. So I'll cut this edge first, the bottom edge, and then I lower the whole thing and cut the top edge, and that's the tram. It's out, it's less than a piece of paper for this sort of part I'm making here. That's probably okay, but for something else, probably wouldn't be so fine. Get this light down further. I don't think you can see it on the camera. Hang on, let me get this light. Anyway, there's a slight gap there, you can see it there. It's almost parallel, but sort of doesn't touch at the bottom. Oh, I can't get that in there. Yeah, so I'm not sure if I need to put another packer in there. For now, that will be okay. It's excellent this way in the XY, but not so good this way. One thing that would fix it would be to get an adjustable angle block. And then I could cut angles easier, I guess. And also adjust it to the right tramming. But it could have issues in this machining as well. So it's really over this area for the vices. It doesn't help if one vice is slightly different. Needs 2 little shims per corner to take up this difference in height from here to the bed. It's a work in progress. Testing out the new insert fly cutter. It seems a bit heavy for the lathe. It sits sort of smooth, no vibrations at 630 RPM on this. The finish looks quite nice. So I think I have feed issues from winding unevenly since I'm an amateur at this whole sort of machining thing. In fact, haven't really done much machining at all. You would say none really. Once at work, a machine was set up and all I had to do is feed it up and down. So I'm happy with that. This is the other cutting quality from Tool Steel 1, but on the smaller base plate, so it would have been vibrating and moving somewhat. It's a Morse Taper 3 setup. I do have a drawbar, threaded rod with some stuff. I made a bush what sits inside the hollow part of this chuck mounting assembly. Well, overall, the performance of the mini lathe mill setup is actually not too bad. I have good motion in this. It's smooth. The fine thread made out the metal here with the thread in it. I relocated this mounting plate so it would come over here so I can get the maximum travel up and down. The new fly cutter with the insert tip cuts really nice. All I have to do is work on the feed rate, but that's pretty good. This is what it was compared with a high-speed tool steel cutting bit. It made grooves and all sorts of crappy stuff. And plus that was only on that little setup when I made it. So that wasn't as rigid as this is. So I'm happy actually with the performance of it. To set your vices, you just put some wood in here, mount them up right, bolt them on. Everything's cool. The new gib strips made out of brass makes everything so much smoother to travel. I should have did that before I started any other work on it. I have it a bit tighter on the vertical up. But yep, if I make an auto feeder for it, we should get it really smooth. See, that's a high-speed steel. One of these. But hard to find this properly on internet. The one that came with my original tool cuts really good. The new one that I bought on eBay doesn't really, I couldn't get it to cut properly. So I don't really like them. I like the inserts. They make a really good job. This may be a slightly bit bigger because at certain revolutions this thing makes the whole thing wobble. So overall, I'm quite happy. with the project. Little vernier strap there so I can see the mount travelling for cut depths and stuff. Works pretty well. Same with that one. You can zero them out. And that, so a little light setup. So quite good. It's really improved the mini lathe's performance. The base was really good. I did have to stick these planks of wood in here because it made the whole table ring like a bell. Putting those planks of wood made it silent. So I'm really happy with that finish. And I've collected some tools for it. I got a 4-jaw chuck there. Got some of that stuff. Another modification I bought was a steel tool set. I got rid of the aluminium crappy one. That was just no good at all. Where is it? Oh. Lost it. It's hiding somewhere. Good point. Haven't seen that for a while. Where is it? Down there. Oh yeah, there it is. It's on the cradle. So that one works really good. It's really tight and solid. And these don't move around. They're solidly locked. Easier to adjust. Where this one, the thing only barely sits on there to get your adjustment. And it didn't lock down properly. This was a bit dicky. This was $30. Wasn't really worth it. Yep. I like these tungsten inserts. These are the best. These really cut really good. So making all of that base, I went through, I chipped this one. So I used one of them, a heap of these high-speed steel ones and stuff, and they're just smooth as now. They're just blunt. These are cheap too. I think it was like $30 for 3 of them. So carbon tungsten inserts are much better. These inserts came with the fly cutter insert, so I've got enough of them. They take a TNMG, is it G? Yeah, 16 fly cutter bit. So it's really worth making a base to make a vertical mill. Have your mini lathe I should say. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you like this. I certainly like it.